Alright, welcome back to Relics of Hyrule, the series. I'm in the Ruptured Towers, and I'm outside of Guilt, which is the Temple of Time. I am very hungry. I can take care of that, but I quenched her thirst. And I got some more water, so she won't, keel over anytime soon from thirst. So, the approach to the Temple of Time requires every key from every dungeon. So that's the Doubt Key, and there's Fear. And finally, there we go. And we have Hylian crest there. And it's warm because there's white, there's fire. Alright. So Guilt is different. Guilt is sort of like Hilda's tomb. There's not really anything here, as you'll see. It's very empty. That's the way back. It's not a normal door. And there's 3 pillars here, that's symbolic. And there's also an ancient enchanter here. This was somewhere else, but I moved it for 6.5. We may actually be able to use it. Oh, yep, medium sand. Gotta do that. And we can do high sand. And we can fill it completely. We can make potent light essence. Let's do that. And we can make Nehru's blessing. And Faror's blessing. Ooh. And one of those. And a respite container. Let's do that, because we don't have one of those yet. Can only make one. We will need these soon. I want to... Let's hold off on that. Let's do that later. I will make some more light essence, though. I don't want to improve those yet. And we can make light arrows. There's a lot that we can do. But let's hold off on that for now. There's also, over here, there's an alteration table. And with that we can change the fire bolts into, fire arrows into fire bolts. We can make a Skulltula Venom Vial. We can switch the Lolian Shield between heavy armor and light armor. Same thing with the Golden Mirror Shield. And Majora's Mask, actually. So yeah, there's some crafting equipment here. And like I said, I'm gonna hold off on making Faror's Blessing and Nehru's Blessing. It's good that we can do that, but I want to do that later. So Guilt is another place that it's mostly lore. And it sort of tells a story. So here's a painting. This is, of course, official artwork from Ocarina of Time that I've processed to look like it was a painting. I wanted to process it a little more so it looks like it actually is a painting. Because right now it doesn't. It looks a little too clean, too sharp. But anyway, so there's Link going into the Great Deku Tree. So that's the beginning of Ocarina of Time. And then here's Link from Twilight Princess fighting Darknuts. So it's adult Link showing the progression of the hero, sort of. And this is from Twilight Princess, but it's meant to be adult Link, the adult hero of time. And then this is just one of my favorite pieces of art from Legend of Zelda. This is just Mainly Zelda herself right there. This is just gorgeous. This is, of course, Twilight Princess. There's Midna. But, like, this is the best design of Zelda ever, in my opinion. So that's that. And then... So that was basically to symbolize, like, fighting evil. And then here's Ganondorf fighting Link. And then there's Majora's Mask. So it goes from Ocarina of Time, Link succeeds, goes back to normal, back to his child form, and then goes to Termina. And there's Majora's Mask and Termina. And then this is from Majora's Mask 3D. And I just really like this artwork, and I included it because it's just because of how Link looks there. I think that it's very symbolic. It's sort of like he's gotten darker, and there's more influence from the evil of Majora's Mask. So he's trapped in Termina. And then this is from artwork from Hyrule Warriors. And I think it's not meant to be... It looks like Skyloft falling out of the sky, and that's what I interpreted it as, and that's what this is included to represent. I think it's meant to just be Skyloft appearing in the sky as part of Hyrule Warriors, but it really looks like Skyloft is plummeting. So that's what this depicts. This depicts the last Great War, the end of the last Great War. And then the final thing is from Twilight Princess. It's Zelda summoning the light spirits. And that's meant to symbolize the very end of the war, which we'll see. We'll read a book that explains that eventually. This has changed. This used to not be here. It used to be somewhere else. Same with the crafting equipment, but I decided to put it here because I felt it fit better at the end of Guilt, and I felt it fit the lore a little better. This is Zelda's coffin. We found Hilda's coffin. This is Zelda's, and Zelda has a sword, so that's her answer to Hilda's staff. And inside Zelda's coffin, there's some Great Fairy's Tears and Hylian regalia, looking very similar. And there's light arrows, silver arrows. There's 3 of each to symbolize the 6 Triforces, and Zelda's ring, which is very similar to Hilda's ring. And then Zelda's scabbard, which is very unique. And I'll take Zelda's wish. Zelda's scabbard is a counterpart to Zelda's sword, so you can wield them separately. You can wield Zelda's sword, and you can also wield Zelda's scabbard in the offhand, like that. And then you can craft a variant of Zelda's lullaby that allows you to fuse them together. And Zelda's sword isn't... I was about to say it's not anything special. It is special. It's Zelda's sword, for crying out loud. I think it's classified as a silver weapon. It's very quick. And it looks cool. But, yeah, Zelda's scabbard looks kind of weird when you have daggers worn on hip. You can change Zelda's scabbard to a mace wield, so you can hit people with the point at the end. So yeah. And let's look at Zelda's... You may be asking, where's Zelda's armor? Oh, you'll find out. Let's look at the Hylian regalia. Like, once again, it's not greatest. It looks alright, but it's a little bulky, and it doesn't really fit. I don't really like how it looks. Okay, so let's read Zelda's Epitaph first. Hero of a new day, by your time the legend of our kingdom will have faded to mist and will be forgotten. Perhaps the legends that will live tell of a hero who failed, letting the kingdom he so loved burn to ash, fertilizing the growth of your world. But know that there is one legend that will surely fade quicker than all the rest. The legend of Zelda. Roll credits! Zelda, Queen of Hyrule in the hour of Twilight, was the person who protected her kingdom by shattering the Relic of Hyrule, the Triforce. Ganon, king of evil, hate, and pain, had succeeded in obtaining the Triforce, and with it he wished to bring an unending darkness to the world. His reign lasted for so long that Hyrule began to die. It slipped to the plane of the space between worlds, merged there with Termina, and the two kingdoms began to bleed. Zelda fled to Lorule, the shadow of Hyrule, and sought the guidance of Hilda, who ruled the shadows. Lorule, she found, was dying as well, and another in-between kingdom, the realm of Twilight, had begun to bleed into Hilda's realm. Zelda, the Queen of Light, Hilda, the Queen of Shadow, and Midna, the Queen of Twilight, cared to the needs of Lorule and the Twilight realm, but Lorule was dying quickly just as a shadow begins to fade as the sky darkens at dusk. Ganon had discovered Lorule, and with his army raised the kingdom to seize its Triforce. Hilda begged Zelda to preserve artifacts from Lorule to keep its memory intact. Zelda kept what she could stored within the Twilight realm. As Lorule burned, Midna and Zelda made their final plans. They returned to Hyrule and found that time was bleeding. Hyrule's past and futures rippled and curved on each other. Stories were heard of countless heroes faltering in the face of evil. Stories of thousands of potential victories crushed into dust. Midna began to seek out, scatter, and seal remnants of the kingdom, its shadow and its boundaries. The Phantom Hourglass in the Temple of Time, the Kokiri Sword deep within the Lost Woods, the Ocarina of Time in the foothills of Death Mountain. Zelda gathered what remained of the goddesses' love and light of Hyrule to form a shrine that would exist throughout time, protecting the final piece of the Lorulean Triforce. But the Dark Lord learned of the shrine and traveled to destroy it and take the final piece. He and Zelda fought a short battle with Ganon as the victor. His pride overwhelmed him as he forced the piece from Zelda's hands. The two Triforces took physical form, with the Hylian Triforce above the Lorulean Triforce, shining brighter than the sun. Ganon's pride was his undoing. He was overcome by his triumph, by the majesty of the twin sigils, but he had failed to notice that Zelda had quickly, silently reached out and touched the Lorulean Triforce. Gods of the Triforce, she prayed, let Hyrule die. Shatter the Triforces once more so that they may never be used to harm Hyrule ever again. Let us die, for a full life thoroughly finished is better than to be undead. The Triforces exploded and Hyrule burned around the scattered shards. Zelda gave Hyrule a gift by letting it die. Your world grew from its ashes, but there are still burning coals yet to be collected. The Triforce is waiting, Dragonborn. Now, this is an interesting book, because there's a lot of other lore books that contradict it. And that's partially intentional. The truth is I actually forgot most of what was in this book. This book is of dubious canon. Hilda's books already contradicted this a little. It says Hilda begged Zelda to preserve artifacts from Lorule, but Hilda was saying that she would protect Relics of Hyrule. Ocarina of Time in the foothills of Death Mountain, which doesn't explain how it got to Kino Langdonzel. And then it says Lorulean Triforce, even though everything else that we've seen so far referring to Lorule says Lolian. So that adjective is weird. And then the Triforce, the main thing is addressing the Dragonborn directly. So it seems that this book was written by somebody who knows the Dragonborn is around and assumes that the Dragonborn is reading it, and assumes that the Dragonborn got there. Also, if you look at the book, so here's Zelda's wish. It looks kind of normal. It's a normal Hylian book. Zelda's Epitaph. Let's see. No, I tried to make it look different. No, they look the same. They're exactly the same. I wanted to make Zelda's Epitaph look a little different from other Hylian books. To sort of be like, that's kind of weird, why does it look like that? I might modify the text in it a little in the future, but basically, its purpose has become to confuse you, sort of, to make you question the lore, and to establish that there's no 100% answer about what happened to Hyrule, and details aren't 100%. Zelda's Wish, however, is a lot nicer. There are dark shadows on the earth, but its lights are stronger in the contrast. However vast the darkness, we must supply our own light. And I think both of those are from Stanley Kubrick. Yeah. Okay, so this is Zelda writing this. My choice is not one between life and death. It is one between an agonizing forever or a bitter end. As my kingdom crumbles around me and I face the road that will ultimately lead to my death, I make one final plea. Not to the gods, the fate of Hyrule is beyond even them. This is the end. Link, if you can hear me, if you someday read this, and I am no more, know this. It is not your fault. Your pain may cloud your memories, but do not blame yourself. All things end. All things come to death. I know Hyrule must die, for the alternative is not life. Hyrule is being devoured by a darkness we cannot brighten, for it is beyond our fate. This evil will be defeated, but not by us, not in our time. Perhaps that is why the gods themselves cannot interfere as they did in the past. They fear this darkness as we do. The end must be balanced, and so if Ganon dies, so must I. Our ancestors, yours and mine, have always been entwined with in conflict with his. As the journey went, so must it end. If you return and find Hyrule turned to dust, do not weep. You are not alone. Never. I am with you as I have always been. You may not know it, but I will always be there. I am always close to you. Your doubts and fears are real, but they do not define you. Have courage. Your anguish will pass, and while the loss of our shining land will be great and the misery will taint the memories of this place, do not grieve, do not burden yourself with guilt. It is not your fault. The light of dawn will wash over the land again, and a bright new kingdom will grow from our ashes. One day we'll meet again. We will meet on that shore again. Remember us, Link, and be free. I wrote this one to give Zelda the last word in the lore. Since then, I've added sort of epilogues to the lore. But this, I think, is much nicer than Zelda's Epitaph. Zelda's Epitaph is very flawed, and that's the purpose of it now. That's the purpose that it serves. This serves to frame all of the Ruptured Towers, everything about the hero and his grief, and it's Zelda's attempt to comfort him, with the hope that he'll hopefully hear her plea. It lists all the names of the Ruptured Towers: doubt, fear, anguish, loss, misery, grief, guilt, in order. You are not alone, never is a reference to Doctor Who. In fact, it's from Vale Decem, the song that plays when the 10th Doctor is regenerating. Translated from Latin. There's other quotes. One day we'll meet on that shore again is from Nightwish. It's from Our Decades in the Sun. It's great. I really like Zelda's Wish. I think it fits extremely well, and it fits her character. We will find more stuff written by Zelda that will sort of fortify her character and make it a lot nicer. I mean, a lot cooler, a lot more relatable, and just better. I'm really excited about it. Zelda's Epitaph It's here to be the cornerstone of the contradictory lore and the legends and the myths surrounding Hyrule. Its author is completely unknown. It's not the hero. We'll find that out. It's not the hero, and it's not Hermaeus Mora, one of his minions. It could be, but it doesn't make sense. There's no evidence of their presence in grief, or in guilt, or in grief. It could be another party that will be introduced to eventually in the lore, but it doesn't make sense for them to have written it. I sort of want to leave it the way it is, just to make it sort of like, who could have written this? It wasn't Zelda. It wasn't Hilda or Midna. It wasn't anyone who was involved. It was somebody looking past. But somebody who was around after the destruction of the Triforce that it explains happened. So it's confusing. It contradicts itself. So anyway, there's Zelda's sword. I really like Zelda's sword. Let's move on. Let's go into this, which is shame. So we went from guilt, went into shame. In guilt there's hope. In shame there's none. This is shame. This is the last boss arena before the final boss. This water is extremely cold, so I'm going to go into that tunnel. That tunnel is going to lead me up to the roof of the Temple of Time. And I'm going to quickly show you what we're standing on. So this is the Temple of Time. Darkened windows, and this is meant to reference the Tower of the Gods. I don't know how I made the water so big here, but not in the other places. There's our dragon that we're gonna fight, but it's a reference to Tower of the Gods from Wind Waker. All of those doorways, so those gates, the center gate goes back to guilt. Those gates with floating electricity, those lead to the roof, the second roof, and then that door is going to lead up to the very top of the temple. But I'm going to go up there because it's easier to fight this this dragon from up there. We've encountered Nehru, Farin's Shade, Elden Shade. This is Lanayru's Shade. It's a lightning dragon, and it has a unique. Lanayru's Shade is very unique. Not only does it have that unique shout, it also does really well at using it, but it also has no data. Well, okay, well, it flies through the temple. It doesn't have any collision data for the temple, and that wasn't intentional, but I left it because I'm like, this is the last boss dragon, so I wanted to make it unique and threatening. So we're on the it's the Temple of Time. The Temple of Time has like 3 versions of itself. There's this one, which is sort of the most corrupted version, and then there's the one in the Ruptured Towers, which is partially corrupted, and there's the one in the Shattered Lands, which is the least corrupted. So the Temple of Time, it's sort of interesting that it has those 3 forms and that it's present in the Ruptured Towers. You gonna zap me? Are you done? Ah, jeez. I swear, if you hit me with an unavoidable chin move, I'm gonna be very annoyed. Oh, you're not swinging anything. See if I can hit its wing. Oh, poopy butt. I need the key. Sand of Hours and Soul Dew. Alright. Okay, we have the guilt key. So, let's open this. The Ethereal Sanctuary. This is where the final boss of the Ruptured Towers is. So, here's the final boss. This area may look familiar. It's designed very closely after the arena for Shadow Darklink in the Water Temple. And this is the hero's shade. And he's carrying a unique shield. It's a clock shield, using the clock face from Termina. And he's carrying a false master sword. He is tough. And depending on where you are, he'll switch weapons. So now he's switched to his bow. Oh, I can't use that. Just don't want him to shoot me, because he hits really hard with those. Oh. Alright, buddy. So, he's carrying ebony arrows and the hero's key, unique helmet, helmet of the hero's shade, which I'm going to take. He's carrying a false master sword, which I'll also take. Stalfo's bone meal. He also has a forgotten broadsword. If you disarm him, then he'll switch to the forgotten broadsword. Not going to take that. He has the fairy ocarina. The fairy ocarina is a functional ocarina, but you can only play a handful of songs. The songs that in Ocarina of Time that you could play with the fairy ocarina before you could find the Ocarina of Time. I'm not going to take his bombs. Although I'll take I'll take the impact bombs. Alright, Hero's Lament. So when we read this, let's take it first. When we read the Hero's Lament, it'll actually add the Hero's Shade Blessing. This is a quote from Arkham City, from Mr. Freeze, of all people. Have you ever seen a flower die? Watched something that was once so beautiful, so full of life, collapse and rot from within? I am the hero. I have had an eternity to build these razor-sharp castles. I wander everywhere but the room I protect. I failed to bring Hyrule back from the brink of death. I failed to resurrect it. I used my purgatory to my advantage, recruiting Majora's Mask itself, channeling its dark power to make Termina a refuge for Hyrule's citizens. But instead, Hyrule became Termina's refuge. The link I opened between the worlds was discovered and severed, and Termina burned with its mirror kingdom. When Hyrule needed me most, my enemies succeeded, stopping me at every turn. Every victory became a defeat. 1,000 heroes fought 1,000 battles, but everything must come to death. All things, everything dies. I am the hero's shade. In my vain hope to stay true to the memories of Hyrule, I built this place, that I may protect its finest treasure. I was your final test. You have defeated me, and I will serve you however you see fit. You have shown the power, wisdom, and courage needed to honor Hyrule's memory. I am the hero's shade. I have existed for over 6,000 years. I have made many mistakes, and it is time I did something about that. I grant to you the will of a soldier who has no heart, one who will not falter in darkness. That last bit is a quote from Ikana, the Ikana. Above that is a quote from Doctor Who, from the 12th Doctor. And this last paragraph, everything must come to death, all things. That's from Doctor Who. Every victory became a defeat. That's also a reference to Doctor Who. The name of the Doctor, sort of. It was an interesting idea. I didn't really like that episode too much, but you know, it worked. Okay. Huh. Interesting. I did not intend that to happen, but that is very interesting. I like that. I won't argue with that. You just heard the oath to order, and order, not odor, oath to order, and you can summon the hero. Once you defeat the hero's shade and read the hero's lament, you can summon the hero's shade using the oath to order. So now, instead of summoning a ghostly Hylian soldier, it'll be the hero's shade. I wanted him to not leave a corpse. I originally wanted him to leave a chest, or activate a chest with his loot in it, but I couldn't get that to work. Anyway, speaking of chests, So I'll show you the helmet of the hero's shade. It's actually a retextured Stallrim helmet. Oh, and it fits with the Zora mask very well. I think I might just keep wearing it. I retextured Stallrim to use metal instead of Stallrim, and it's based on... Oh, he's doing a little dance. He's very closely based on the design of the hero's shade from Twilight Princess. Obviously, he's a Draugr, just because of, you know, the limitations of Skyrim. And it was very easy to make his left eye glow. I gave him that helmet. It fits perfectly. And he just turned out really well. And I made him translucent, just like the hero shade is. He uses Draugr textures, so he'll look like a Draugr. Alright, well, that is the end of the Ruptured Towers, but there's an epilogue. He mentioned the shrine that he was protecting, which is not that one, it's over here. This is the shrine that he was protecting. Triforce Shrine. This is the Triforce Shrine. He's not in here. I can summon him using the Oath to Order, though. So let's get the Oath to Order. Just to prove to you. Yep, there he goes. He's summoned with a time wound and everything. Very fitting. So these are functional Golden Goddess statues, but I cannot pray to any of them. Activating I need pieces of the Triforce. I do not have a complete set, but when I have a complete set, so I have the Triforce of Wisdom, the Triforce of Emotion, once I find the Triforce of Power and Courage, I can bring them back here, and you can probably guess what this does. I mean, there's a friggin' Triforce right there. It's called the Triforce Circle. The ultimate goal of Relics of Hyrule, quote-unquote, is to reform the Triforce, both Triforces. That's the goal, but just like Minecraft and how the Ender Dragon is supposedly the end, there's way more to Relics of Hyrule than just the Triforce. So even when I get all of the pieces and put them together, there's going to be more for me to do. So we'll definitely come back here. In the meantime, there's one more place in the Ruptured Towers that we need to go. This is going to bring me back to the beginning, and then I can access the Circle of Tomes and warp my way around the Ruptured Towers as I see fit. But there's one more area that I need to access before I can call this area finished. We can now unlock all of these. We have all the keys. We can access any of the Ruptured Towers that we want. I want to go back to Grief. No, Grief. That is mislabeled. This should say Grief. The reason I wanted to come here is because of that door down there. I think we looked at it. This is Midna's tomb. So I'm gonna go through Midna's tomb. If guilt didn't take too long, if guilt took longer than 20 minutes or so, then I'll split it into its own episode. If not, I think I'll still split them up. I think I'll make Midna's tomb its own episode. So thank you for watching. I will see you next time.